ओम नमो नारायणाय। ओम स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. Namaskar to all of you. Welcome to the study of great Master Sri Ramakrishna. Yesterday we were looking into the special aspect of the present, the Yuga Avatara, Sri Ramakrishna, the power of attorney. Many thoughts occur to our mind in connection with this doctrine. So now this has become a special doctrine itself. So, doctrine of acceptance of power of attorney. We find in the history of the world that it is the great souls alone, such as Lord Jesus, Chaitanya, and others, who could sometimes give assurance of this kind to some people. Ordinary teachers have no powers to do so. They can at the most teach others the mantras and particular practices with the help of which they themselves made spiritual progress. Or they can attract people towards purity by living pure lives themselves. But when paralyzed by various kinds of worldly bondages, man reaches the state of complete helplessness. And when asked to do even a trifling thing, he pleads his inability to do so, to do it, and asks for help in utter despair. It is beyond the power of ordinary teachers to help them. It is beyond the power of any man to say to another man that he would take upon himself all the responsibility for the latter's evil action and that he himself would experience their result on the latter's behalf. It is when there is a very great decline of spirituality in the heart of man that the Lord, out of his grace, incarnates himself and suffers the results of man's evil actions on his behalf and saves him from the constraint of that bondage. Although he does so, he does not absolve him altogether, but makes him put forth some little effort so that he may learn. The master used to say in this connection, man finishes the experience of 10 lives in one by their the incarnation's grace. So some people were asking the questions when we take mantra diksha, when we take the refuge at the feet of Ramakrishna, and also when we give the power of attorney with full faith. That is very, very important. You may tell in your words that I have given the power of attorney, but you will be doing things as you like in your own way. Then finally blame Ramakrishna has not taken away my sins at all. So Ramakrishna has not taken my power of attorney. So you have to study the life of Girish Chandra Ghosh to understand what is this complete surrender and total faith in his guru or in the avatar. So you should note this point here. Now the Lord will take major chunk of our karmas, but he will allow a little. For example, now in karmas there are things called prarabdha karma, agami karma, and sanchita karma. Now in so many millions and millions of lives, just like they tell, to get the first human life, from the time of the evolution we start with the microbes, the bacteria and virus. I think the earliest creatures may be the viruses. They have now found even more older microbes than virus, which has very, very little development of DNA. or rather RNA, ribonucleic acid. DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. So the RNA development is very, very less. So they tell even the inanimate things, the plastic, the mud, the stone, everything, they too have very little manifestation of consciousness. So the lowest type of organisms like bacteria, virus, all these things, they can exhibit both living and non-living character. Whenever there is some problem, the viruses can act like a non-living thing. They will be like a dead thing. But whenever the condition favors, then again they can get back life. So they are so primitive, they have this capacity of becoming exhibiting both non-living and living characters. And there are some microbes which form cyst around them as a protection when they get into problem. So whenever the atmosphere become congenial, the cyst will be broken again, they will come back to life. So they exhibit both living and non-living character. So from there we start our journey from the non-living inanimate thing, then the lowest primitive organisms, then like that we cross over 8.4 millions, 8.4 millions of lives, and then the first human life we get after that. Then after that we start go on doing so many karmas, good and bad, to fulfill our desires, to enjoy this world. Then again go to the higher lokas, pitraloka, so many other different planes of existence. Then again we will come back after the punya is over. Then we get a human birth when the 50-50, when the punya and papa are 50-50. Then again we want quick enjoyment, so we do bad karmas, then again go back to the animal life. So it continues the cycle, life cycle. So to get the first human life, you might have taken 8.4 millions of lives. I'm telling not number of years, but lives. So after that, I don't know how many million years we might have taken. So birth and death and death and birth, the cycle goes on. So we have accumulated from that time up till now, maybe so many billions and billions of years, so much of karmas have been accumulated. So all that sum totality of karma is called as sanchita karma. Sanchaya means you have collected. So that is always there on your back as the causal body, which can, which will be always coming with you. That load, the bag of karmas will be always coming with you, traveling even after death. Wherever you go, that will come with you, whether it is punya or papa. So that is the baggage you carry. Wherever you have to carry, no giving up until you get liberated. So now the gods and goddesses, there are so many gods like Indra, Chandra, Vayu, Varna. They're all just like officers or managers who will manage this karma. At that particular time, when your time is over, Lord Yama will, according to my karma, come and take my life and give me the next life. Keep me in Pitraloka or send me to the higher lokas. Or if I've done too many bad things, will be put to the hell or to the animal kingdom. That is the work of the Yama and Chitragupta, and so many other officers will be there. They're all devatas, Prakriti Leena Purushas. Then so many other grahas are there, devatas are there. According to my karma, I will get all the results. So now they decide. Now Chaturmukha Brahma and other people, they are all the officers, the highest officers, just like judges, police officers. So they now, according to the totality of my karma, I cannot take up all the amount of karma and take this life, human life, or whatever life it is. So to complete this life, I have to take some portion from that Sanchaya karma, both bad and good, and now live in this life. Suppose I have taken a human life. Suppose I have taken the life of a tortoise. Suppose I have taken the life of a bird, whatever according to my karma. So that is decided by these officers, the small letter gods. So they will only bring the karma and give us. That's all. That is their only discretion. Or else everything, whatever we have done in the form of karmas, we are enjoying it. Nobody will give us either good or bad. At the most, when we are suffering, if we take recourse to the feet of the Lord, Ishvara, He can take us out from that, reduce that intensity, and help us. So now, prarabdha karma is a particular thing which is already started fructifying. So no, nobody can stop it. It will have to bear the fruit. But as Mother Sharda Devi tells, if you do the japa of the mm, Guru, the Guru has given us the mantra diksha. If you do the japa, then what happens? The intensity of that prarabdha karma which has to fructify, so that will be reduced to a great extent. Suppose, as Sharda Devi tells, suppose I have in my karma, prarabdha karma, that I have to break my leg with a plow falling on my leg. So if I am doing japa, that will neutralize to the extent of that karma will have to be undergone by me, but only it will reduce to the level of pinprick. The karma which was supposed to break my leg with the fall of a plow or an accident or whatever will be fructified or will have to be borne by me in the form of a small pinprick. So there lies the position of the grace of the Lord. So they will reduce the intensity and help us to come out of it. So they will give the strength to overcome, they will give the strength to undergo that karma. So now what is Ramakrishna will do? How will he suffer? Major chunk of the portion of our karmas, Ramakrishna will now, when he has taken the power of attorney, he will suffer major chunk of our karma, but not complete. He will give some little portion to us to finish so that we should not feel that, oh, everything is gone away. So that is now narrated here. The intensity of the prarabdha karma and also agami karma. What is agami karma? That now which I am doing at present, I do karma both good and bad. I'll be doing so many bad karmas, I'll be doing so many good karmas. So they will give you the fruit of karmas for the future. We will be accumulating. That is called agami, which will come in the future, agami karma. Just like the elephant has dirtied itself, the mahut will take it to the lake or the pond or the river and give it a nice bath. Then coming back, if the mahut is not there, the elephant will go again, put the dust and get dirt on its back, and it will become dirty again immediately after the bath. So you will go to Ganga, take a bath, Papa is gone. The Guru has now given you the mantra, Papa is gone, but you are accumulating karma again. He will put the dirt on your back again. So you are not totally surrendered completely. You are committing karmas. So in this life, until this prarabdha karma is over, you'll be enjoying all those karmas, good or bad. If you do too much intense good karma, you will get good result. If you do bad karmas also, it will be bad result. You will be hurting so many people. You'll be talking rudely to so many people. Your ego will be bruising and hurting so many people. All that karma will be accumulating and you have to get the result. So that also will be reduced. Now you can see here, although Sri Ramakrishna does that, he will suffer, he will take the karma of ours by his grace. He takes it on himself and suffers the results of man's evil actions on his behalf and saves him from the constraint of that bondage. Although he does so, he does not absolve him altogether, but makes him put forth some little effort so that he may learn. So now you should note that. Somebody was asking me, so I have taken the mantra diksha and I'm still suffering. I have so many sufferings. Still I'm undergoing some, whatever my desire is not fulfilled. So they asked me such questions. So now you will get the answer here. Shardanandaji Maharaj is explaining, because of the grace, Sri Ramakrishna has taken major chunk of our karmas. So he will suffer. He incarnates himself and suffers the results of man's evil actions on his behalf, and saves him and saves us from the constraint of the evil actions on our behalf, and saves us from the constraint of that bondage. Although he does so, he does not absolve anybody completely altogether, but makes him put forth some little effort so that he may learn. The master used to say in this connection, so note this point, you have to understand. So many, we will take up some things and we will not take the other things, then there will be so many doubts. So that's why I'm explaining in detail. Although he does so, he takes our karmas, he does not absolve him altogether, but makes him put forth some little effort so that he may learn. The master used to say in this connection, man finishes the experiences. Man finishes the experiences of 10 lives in one by their, but that is the incarnation's grace. I'll again repeat it. Man finishes the experiences of 10 lives in one by the experience, the incarnation's grace. Man finishes the experiences of 10 lives in one by their incarnation's grace. Now I'll give you an example. There was a disciple of Holy Mother, revered Srimad Swami Madhavanandaji Maharaj. Now he also became the General Secretary of the order. He was also the President of the order. Once Holy Mother told that, now I can give you a boon. How do you want to get liberated? She gave the two choices to her disciple, revered Madhavanandaji Maharaj. Holy Mother, who was his initiated or guru of initiation, Holy Mother Sharda Devi asked him, I'm going to give you two choices. One is, you will get liberation, mukti, complete realization or absorption in Parabrahman. You will become one in Parabrahman. So, in this life itself, but the suffering will be intense suffering. And there is other choice. So you will get 3 lives as a devotee, as a great saint, or as a great devotee of the Lord, and doing a lot of good works and enjoying the life. Very happy life, 3 lives. So you can choose between these two. One life, intense suffering. 3 lives, very great saint, will come down again 3 times. Life of a devotee or very good life of sadhana, and you will enjoy the life. Less suffering. There will be suffering, but not much. So what do you want to choose? Now, Revered Madhavanandaji Maharaj asked Holy Mother, Mother, I don't want to come again and again. Let this be the last life. I will suffer, intense suffering. So in the fag end of the life, so much of suffering was used to come. He was a realized soul. He had realized his oneness with the Atman or Paramatman. He was the disciple of Holy Mother Sharda Devi. Now, so much of suffering, so many skin diseases, so many other things, that and this, so many. You would not complain, you would not murmur. You would just enjoy that, as if the body is just undergoing that, I'm not that, I'm the Atman, his identification. He suffers. So it is just like that. So now note this point, it does not absolve the person altogether, but makes him put forth some little effort so that he may learn. The master used to say in this connection, man finishes the experiences of 10 lives in one by their, that is the incarnation's grace. An important thing here, we may tell in our mouth that we are completely surrendered. In reality, we will have not. We will be doing all the other works too. So, if you want complete attorney, power of attorney, you should surrender completely. So, for that, if you want to understand, study Girish Chandra Ghosh's life again and again, then you will get the idea. Now, we shall continue forward. This is as true of an individual as of a nation. Now, Shardanandaji Maharaj is coming from the individual karma, from the individual life of a jiva, living being, to the nation or a society. So, this is true of an individual as of a nation. It is this which has been called in the Bhagavad Gita. So, what is the chapter? 11th chapter. What is the verse? 8th verse. You can go to Bhagavad Gita, open up, or even if you want, you can go to the Google. So just type 8th chapter, 11th chapter Bhagavad Gita, 8th verse. Then you will get that. So what has Lord Krishna told in that 11th chapter, 8th verse? Lord Krishna tells about the attainment of the divine eye. Arjuna was given that attainment of the divine eye, Divya Chakshuhu. So Arjuna, for the purpose of having the vision of the universal form of Parabrahman, the highest Godhead, Nirakar, Nirguna Parabrahma, he takes the universal form. To see that, Arjuna was given the third eye, the Divya Chakshu, the divine eye. So Arjuna got that for the purpose of having the vision of the universal form of the Lord, Parabrahman. So in the Puranas also, that is our scriptures, being blessed with the grace of the Lord, in the Bengal Vaishnava scriptures, we find that the saving of Jaggai and Madhai. So Jaggai and Madhai were two ruffians, sinners. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even though they used to ill-treat him, behave with him very rudely, cause pain to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his disciples, in spite of them, out of compassion, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saved them. So that is mentioned here, the saving of Jagai and Madai, or the crushing of the unbeliever in them. And in the Christian scriptures, the vicarious atonement of Jesus through taking upon himself the suffering of others. We could never have realized that there is truth in all this if we did not get an indication in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. So Ramakrishna has come this time to show the veracity, verify the scriptures, what has happened earlier, to show that that is all true. So without having ourselves seen in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, we would have not really believed that all these earlier incarnations have done these things. When the master came and lived at Shampukur in Calcutta for treatment, that is before Kashipur, he stayed in another house, that is Shampukur. For treatment, he had one day a vision. What was the vision of Sri Ramakrishna in Shampukur? That is subtle body, that the subtle body of Sri Ramakrishna came out of his gross and was walking up and down. So Ramakrishna himself had the vision of his own subtle body coming out of this gross body and walking up and down. Regarding this vision, Sri Ramakrishna said later on, now this has all been recorded by the direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, Shardanandaji Maharaj, who is the author of this book. Regarding this vision, Sri Ramakrishna said, I saw that it had sores, wounds all over its back. The subtle body, Sri Ramakrishna saw his own subtle body while it came out of the Stula Sharira, the Sukshma Sharira which came out and started walking up and down the subtle body. It had lot of sores on the back. Ramakrishna had this vision. I saw that it had sores, wounds, marks all over its back. I was wondering why they were there. And the mother, Divine Mother, showed that it was because people came and touched my body after committing all kinds of sins. Sometimes, even if people would come to the presence of Sri Ramakrishna, such was the compassion that even Holy Mother too, even their presence would take away the sins of those people who are present there. So now, Divine Mother Kali showed in that vision to Sri Ramakrishna. I saw that it had sores all over its back. I was wondering why they were there. And Divine Mother Kali showed me that it was because people came and touched my body after committing all kinds of sins, because out of compassion for their sufferings, I had to take upon myself the results of the evil deeds of those living beings. That is why Sri Ramakrishna showing his own throat, which had developed cancer. That is why this showing his throat, that is the throat cancer, that is why this is there. The master was suffering from cancer in the throat when the conversation took place. Why otherwise should there be so much suffering to this body? Though this body never did anything wrong, this body has never committed any sins in any life, or even at the thought level, it has not committed any sins. Why should it suffer so much? So, why otherwise should there be so much suffering, though this body has never done anything wrong? When Sri Ramakrishna mentioned about this vision, the Divine Mother Kali showed that he had to take upon himself the results of the evil deeds of all the living beings out of compassion, whoever came to Sri Ramakrishna. Divine Mother showed that it was because people came and touched my body after committing all kinds of sins. Because out of compassion for their suffering, I had to take upon myself the result of their evil deeds. So Shardanandaji Maharaj is telling, we were dumbfounded and thought, is it a fact then that one can undergo the result of another's action? Is it a fact then that one can undergo the results of another's action? Shardanandaji Maharaj is musing, is wondering, and is thinking in his own mind, is it a fact? And make the latter free to make spiritual progress. Hearing the master's words, many thought out of love for him, ah, why did we touch the master after committing various evil acts like lying, cheating, etc.? He's suffering so much, undergoing so much of pain because of us. He's suffering so much, undergoing so much of pain because of us. So Shardanandaji Maharaj is musing or thinking in his own mind, we will never again touch his divine body. Otherwise, we commit so many things like telling lie, cheating, so many other things, and then come and touch the body. the feet of Sri Ramakrishna, and he has to suffer for that. So we will never again touch his divine body. We remember in this connection that Sri Ramakrishna said on another occasion, once a man suffering from leukoderma, the skin disease, you know what that skin disease is, leukoderma. So the skin gets patches all over the body and the whole, there will be marks. It will be very making the body looking differently. So you'll have a lot of patches on the body. That's called leukoderma. So once a man suffering from leukoderma came and pleaded persistently to Sri Ramakrishna that if he would only pass his hand over it, that is the body, he would be cured of the disease. The master had compassion on him and said, well, I know nothing, but as you desire, I shall pass my hand. If it will be cured, if mother wills, and he passed his hand over it. For the whole of that day, Sri Ramakrishna felt so much pain in his hand that he became restless and said to Divine Mother Kali of the universe, she said to the Mother of the universe, Mother, so much of pain in my hand, I will never do such a thing again, Mother. But he would tell in the intensity of pain like that, he would absolve the sins of those people, take that on themselves. But again, when the suffering people came, he would melt in compassion and would try to help them by taking their karmas. The master used to say later, that person, the person who was suffering from the leukoderma, the skin disease, he was cured of the disease, but the suffering was experienced here, showing his own body. These events of Sri Ramakrishna's life clearly shows us that in this age, the scriptures like the Vedas, the Bible, the Puranas, the Quran, the treatises on rituals, the sacred formulae, etc., can be easily understood. If studied in the light of Sri Ramakrishna's life, the Master also told us, my children, coins current in the time of Nawabs are not legal tender in that of the Badshahas. So the coin or the currency that belong to the king or somebody of the olden people will not be useful in another person's rule. So those things, the scriptures which have been written then long back, thousands of years, people will lose faith in it. So the incarnation has to come again and again and perform all these leelas and then bring in faith in the votaries, in the devotees. Now, we should note that Ramakrishna has performed so many such miracles, removal of the diseases, so many such were there, only some few are recorded, that's all. Whoever used to come to him, he used to take up their sufferings on himself and absolve them of their sins and help them to move forward in spiritual life. We should note that one day Mother Sharda Devi was weeping in Jairambati. When one of the attendant of Mother Sharda Devi asked him, Mother, why are you weeping? Why are you crying? To which Holy Mother replied, my dear child, Ramakrishna has told me that I have to do a lot of work after him. I have to take up the sins of many people who will come to me, and I have to suffer and relieve them of their sufferings. But today, has gone a waste. Nobody has come. Ramakrishna had told, is the words of Ramakrishna, has it become false? Today nobody has come. I couldn't absolve them of their sufferings. Today nobody came to give their sins. And so, since nobody came, so that mother couldn't have the opportunity to take up their sins on herself and suffer, Holy Mother Sharda Devi. So she is weeping that today a day has gone, it has been wasted. So why did we come to this earth, giving up that higher position? Tad Vishnoho Paramam Padam. So why did I give up that Paramam Padam and come down here, taking this human form to absolve all the people of their sins and help them? Today a day has gone wasted that I know people came and I couldn't help them to relieve their sufferings. So for that, Holy Mother Sharda Devi was weeping that I couldn't help anybody. Just imagine the intensity of compassion. You can see why Sri Ramakrishna mentioned her as she has come down to this earth to show universal motherhood. So she is weeping for that. In another place, one of the attendant asked mother not to give mantra diksha or meet anybody and take their suffering because you are suffering so much, so many type of sufferings and pains you are having. So do not give mantra diksha. You have to take their sins. Do not take their sins. Do you know what was the reply of Holy Mother? She told, my dear child, do you think Ramakrishna and me and all these people with him have come to eat rasgullas to this world? Have we come to incarnate, taken this body to eat rasgullas and enjoy and go? No, we have come for that purpose, to lift the living beings, to help the living beings, absolve their karmas, take their sins upon themselves and relieve them of their sufferings. We have come for that purpose. So have we come to just eat rasgullas and go away? No. So here you can see so many such things. They would never beat their drums and tell, oh, we have done that, we have cured so many people. So here we never knew this, you see. Once a suffering man with leukoderma, the skin disease, patches on the skin, came and pleaded persistently to Sri Ramakrishna that if he would only pass his hand over it, he would be cured of the disease. The master had compassion on that person and said, well, I know nothing, but if as you desire, I shall pass my hand over your body. It will be cured if mother wills. And he passed his hand over it. For the whole of that day, Sri Ramakrishna felt so much pain in his hand that he became restless and said to Divine Mother, Mother of the Universe, Ma, I will never touch, I will never do such a thing again, Mother, so much of pain. The master used to say later, that person, that man with that leukoderma was cured of the disease, but the suffering was experienced here, showing his body. These events of Sri Ramakrishna's life clearly shows us that in this age, the scriptures like the Vedas, the Bibles, the Puranas, the Quran, the treatises on rituals, the sacred formulas, etc., can be easily understood if you study the life of Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother and Vivekananda. If studied in the light of Sri Ramakrishna's life, the master told us, my children, current coin in the time of coins current in the time of Nawab are not legal tender in that of the Badshah. So on a superficial view, it may appear that giving up of the power of attorney is a very easy affair. Superficially, we can think and feel that it is very easy to give the power of attorney. On superficial view, it may appear that the giving of the power of attorney is a very easy affair, as if the power waits ready to be handed over to another. Man is a slave to his inclinations. He looks for advantages. So, yesterday when somebody asked me about this question, now the answer is given here. On superficial view, not on the mm, live chat or during the class, but the question was asked later on making a phone call to me. So, now Shardanandaji Maharaj is exactly answering. On a superficial view, it may appear that the giving up of the power of attorney is very easy affair, as if the power waits ready to be handed over to another. Man is a slave to his inclinations. He looks for advantages even while practicing religion. He likes to keep both the worldly pleasure and the bliss of God. He considers the worldly enjoyment to be so sweet that without them he feels life to be meaningless and not worth living. It is for this reason that he is beside himself with joy when he comes to know that in the spiritual world the power of attorney can be given. He thinks, well, how grand! Let me enjoy the pleasures of the world to my heart's content, be it by committing theft, cheating, robbery, etc. For that, and let Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jesus Christ, Ramakrishna so arrange that I may be happy in the next world. I say the next world because someday I have to die. He fails to see that it is nothing but a deception committed by his willy mind, that it is nothing but shutting his eyes to the terrible picture of his own evil actions, leading him headlong to destruction, and that someday he will be forced to open his eyes and see before him a shoreless ocean. He will then realize that no one accepts the power of attorney given by a deceiver. No one accepts the power of attorney given by a deceiver. Ah, man, how many are the ways in which you are deceiving yourself, thinking that you have struck a splendid bargain? And hail Mahamaya, what a great delusion hast thou created in the human mind? What the great poet Ramaprasad said in his song addressing thee is indeed perfectly true. Hail, O Mother Dakshina Kali, thou hast produced delusion in the world, but hast made the magic wand of both thy feet that destroy delusion fall to the lot of Shiva. Thou art the daughter of such a magician. Thou hast kept the father of the universe in the disguise of a madness, and assuming three gunas, thou hast transformed thyself into Purusha and Prakriti. I apprehend, therefore, O Ramaprasad, the composer of the song, that you have become mad as you hope to get those feet which could not be attained by the destroyer of Tripura himself. The power of attorney cannot be given for the mere wish. Man can rightly give it only when, as a result of much effort and perseverance, the mind realizes a state in which that is made possible, and it is only then that the divine Lord accepts it. Even when running after the various things of the world to become happy, man really feels that what he has attained is a shadow without reality. Even when performing spiritual practices, japa, and austerities, he feels in his heart of hearts that it can never be an adequate price for the attainment of the infinite Lord. And even when employing unsparingly all means and methods with the hope and faith of moving mountains by the sheer force of perseverance, he realizes that he has no power to move even a straw. It is only then that he begins to cry aloud in a plaintive voice, O thou protector, whoever and wherever thou art, save me. And only then the Lord accepts his power of attorney. So to note this again, when completely you surrender yourself, complete self surrender, Sharanagati. So even when employing unsparingly all means and method with the hope of faith of moving mountains by sheer force of perseverance, the man realizes that he has no power to move even a straw. It's only then that he begins to cry aloud in a plaintive voice, "O thou protector, whoever and wherever thou art, save me." And then the Lord accepts his power of attorney. On the contrary, when the mind takes a perverse attitude and says, "I do not find joy in performing spiritual exercises," yeah, it's so exact thinking of our mind. It is reflected, everything how we think is being reflected here so nicely. On the contrary, when the mind takes a perverse attitude and says, "I do not find joy in performing spiritual exercises or calling on the Lord, but feel happy only in giving free reins to my whims and fancies, and hence I shall follow them." And when objection is taken to this attitude, it comes out with a prompt reply, "Why? Have I not given the power of attorney to God? What shall I do when He is making me act like that?" So then we will put the blame on God itself. The Lord is making me act like that. Have I not given the power of attorney to the Lord? Just like we should see that Duryodhana also told Krishna, when Krishna told, "Do not cause this war, O Duryodhana, give at least 5 villages to the Pandavas. There will be no war, there will be no destruction, save the lives." Then, when people told, "See, the Lord Himself is asking, why don't you give?" Then Duryodhana replied, "Janami dharmam." I know what is dharma, righteousness. I have learnt because all the kings and all they had the education. So in that process of education, they have to learn all the scriptures and the righteous things. I know what is dharma, I know what is righteousness, but I cannot practice it. I know what is dharma, what is unrighteousness, but I cannot give it up. am committing that unrighteous act. I know that is adharma, but I cannot give it up. I know what is dharma, I have studied very well what is righteousness, what is unrighteousness, but I have so much of intense desire not to give up adharma and not to perform dharma. So, though I know, so you may be educated, you may have read the scriptures, but now, like Duryodhana, we don't want to give up adharma, unrighteousness. On the contrary, I know what is righteousness, what is good, but I don't want to perform them. So, here Sharadanandaji Maharaj is bringing out what should be the attitude, right attitude. When will the Lord accept your power of attorney? Now, Sharadanandaji Maharaj is telling our negative behavior. On the contrary, when the mind takes a perverse attitude and says, "I do not find joy in performing spiritual exercises or calling on the Lord, but find but feel happy only in giving free reins to my whims and fancies, and hence I shall follow my whims and fancies." And when objection is taken to this attitude, it comes out with the prompt reply, "Why? Have I not given my power of attorney to God? What shall I do when He is making me act in that fashion? Is anything is in my hand? Everything in the will of Lord. Even whatever I am performing or sinning or doing all the bad thing is because of the Lord of the universe. Without His will can I do that? So I am not responsible for that. Why I have given my power of attorney to God? What shall I do when He is making me act thus? Why does He not change my mind? Why does the Lord not change my mind?" Then one should know that giving the power of attorney in this manner is to deceive oneself as well as others and to lose the here and hereafter. This subject will be better understood if discussed from another standpoint. Well, let it be granted that you have given the power of attorney and that you have no need to call on God or follow any kind of spiritual practice. If the power of attorney has been properly given, you cannot but constantly dwell upon his compassion in your heart. If the power of attorney has been properly given, you cannot but constantly dwell upon the compassion of Lord in your heart. You will then feel that having fallen into this shoreless sea of world and struggled in it helplessly for endless time, he has now saved you by his grace. Just imagine how much gratitude, how much love and devotion of your heart you will pour on him when you feel like that. Will it be necessary to ask you always to think of him and remember his name? Filled with grateful love for him, won't you won't your heart naturally do so? What a fine question Shardanandaji is posing. When you come to know, when you see the compassion of the Lord pouring, being poured to your heart, you will then feel that having fallen into this shoreless sea of world and struggled in it helplessly for endless time, he has now saved you by his grace. Just imagine how much gratitude, love, and devotion of your heart you will pour on him when you feel like that. Will it be necessary to ask you always to think of him? When you have gratitude, when you feel how much he has saved me, how much good he has done to me, should somebody force you to think of him, meditate on him, and do his japa? Will it be necessary to ask you to always think of him? Out of gratitude, you cannot forget him at all. Nobody needn't force you to do the japa, to do meditate on him. You cannot but do that because you know how much of compassion he has shown on you. Will it be necessary to ask you always to think of him and do his work and remember his name? If you have gratitude, if you are grateful, filled with grateful love for him, won't you heartily, won't your heart naturally do so? Should somebody force you? Even a vicious creature, even a poisonous creature like a snake is said to feel grateful to the person who gives its shelter. When a poisonous, a vicious reptile like a snake is said to feel grateful, you can see the dogs or animals or cats. If you feed it once, how much grateful they will be. Just one morsel or a crumb of bread, a piece of something, they will be grateful to you for the whole life. If that is the case with ordinary, vicious, poisonous snake or a dog or a cat, even a vicious creature like a snake is said to feel grateful to the person who gives it shelter. It goes under the familiar name of a house snake and does not harm anyone in the household. Is your heart meaner? Are you lower than that creature? Is your heart meaner even than that vicious poisonous snake or a dog? Not to be filled with grateful love for him who has taken upon himself your responsibility both in this world and in the next. So, if you find that after giving the power of attorney, if you do not feel any joy in calling on God, then know for certain that you have neither given properly. Know for certain you may tell, I have surrendered completely, but you have not done that. In words, you may tell that. So, you do not feel any joy in calling God, even in spite of all these, then know for certain that you have neither given properly the power of attorney to him, nor he has taken upon himself your responsibility. Do not deceive yourself anymore. thinking that you have given the power of attorney, and do not attribute the stain of your own evil actions to the stainless divine Lord, eternally free from the touch of any evil whatever. That's why it's called Niranjana, Nararupadhara. In Khandana Bhavabandhana, we have that word Niranjana, means stainless, no sin, no rajas, no stain, no impurity, amala. So, the stainless Lord, divine Lord, eternally free from the touch of any evil whatsoever, whatever. To do so is most baneful and harmful to yourself. Remember Sri Ramakrishna's story of a Brahmana killing a cow? So you all know in the gospel we have that story of the Brahmana. A Brahmana succeeded with much effort and great pains in rearing a beautiful garden. He was expert gardener and he liked to grow the garden. He planted it with various kinds of fruits and flower bearing trees and felt a great joy in their, in their luxuriant growth. One day, finding a gate open, a cow, old cow, entered the garden because it was hungry, it was weak, and it was diseased. It was so weak, for many days it was not taken food. It started lustily eating all the garden, all the plants, all the leaves of the trees. It started destroying because it was so weak and hungry. So it was eating all the plants. The Brahmana was away on business. He returned and found that the cow was even then feeding on his plants. Now all the garden is destroyed. He was very angry. He violently assaulted the cow and gave her such a blow with a stick on a vital part of the body that the cow died on the spot. Now we get angry and commit such heinous things. Until then, because of anger, the judgment will be clouded. As I explained in the Bhagavad Gita Wednesday class, that krodhat bhavati sammohaha, you get deluded, your mind get deluded. I also gave the example of Dhumra Lochana, one of the demons in the Durga Saptashati. His eyes are clouded. Dhumra Lochana. His eyes are smoky, clouded. He cannot take any decisions when he get angry. Dhumra Lochana. So, anger and all other things, the sinful things we commit because of the anger, our intellect get destroyed temporarily. You become mad and you do all the wrong things. Then after that, when the anger is gone, or you have committed those heinous crimes or sins, hurting so many people, paining so many people, then you start repenting. Oh, I should have not got angry. It's too late. It will destroy the life of other people and your life too. So anger is very, very dangerous. I ask so many people, please do not get angry. Ramakrishna used to tell, I cannot touch, I cannot even come near the person who is angry, because he will be oozing out so much of toxins, negative vibrations. Ramakrishna used to tell, I couldn't touch or I can't go near a person who is angry. He's become worse than a Chandala, the lowest of the lowest. So that is the bad thing which anger does to us and others. Now, this Brahmana, out of anger, now he's seized by anger. He killed the cow. Only after that you repent. The cow died on the spot. The Brahmana was seized with fear. So we can't think. All our knowledge, wisdom, everything will be gone out of anger. So the Brahmana was seized with fear and thought, alas, I'm a Brahmana and I've killed a cow. One of the greatest sins, the Pancha Mahapataka, killing a cow, Gohatya, is also one of the greatest sins. I've killed a cow, which is the greatest of sins. The Brahmana had read a little of the scriptures, Vedanta, and remembered that each human sense organs derived its power of functioning from a particular presiding deity. So every sense organs are working because of the power of the presiding deity like Indra, Chandra, Vayu, Varuna. For example, the eyes derives its sight from the sun god Aditya. Because of the light of the sun, your eyes works. So without the power of the sun, the eyes cannot work. So my eyes are seeing because of Aditya, Surya or sun god. The ear is hearing from the wind god, Vayu, and hand is its movement from Indra, the Adidevata, Adhishtatru Devata of hand is Indra, and so on. The Brahmana now recollected those words and thought, so now it is then not I who killed the cow. The hands killed the cow. The hand was moved by the power of Indra. It is therefore Indra who has killed the cow. It is not me. The hand was moved by the power of Indra. It is therefore Indra who has killed the cow. The Brahmana now felt relieved at this conclusion. So I have not killed the cow. The sin should not come to me. It is Indra. The hands work because of the power of Indra. So these hands killed that cow. So I'm not the person who have killed the cow. It is Indra who has killed the cow. Now the sin of killing the cow, Gohatya, took the form of a demon or something and came to enter the body of the Brahmana. But he mentally warded it off with the thought, go away. You have no place here. Indra has killed that cow. Go and catch him. Go to him. Go to Indra. So the sin went to seize Indra. Indra said to the sin, wait a little. Please let me go and speak a word or two with the Brahmana and come back to you. So seize me then if you like. Saying so, Indra assumed a human form, entered the Brahmana's garden and saw him standing close by, looking after the plants and trees. Indra began to praise the beauty of the garden in the Brahmana's hearing and slowly proceeding towards him said, oh, what a beautiful garden this is, so beautiful flowers, what lusty leaves. The plants are so healthy. The trees have grown so beautiful. What beautiful fruits. So nicely everything is in rows and columns. So nicely you have maintained everything. Who has done it? Who is the great person? Everything is so beautiful. Some beautiful person might have done the gardening. What so much exquisite beauty. It is just like artwork. So he's praising much in the hearing of the Brahmana. Saying so, he approached the Brahmana and said, sir, can you tell me whose garden this is? Who is it that has planted the trees and plants so beautifully? Hearing him praising the garden, the Brahmana was besides himself with joy and said, I, sir, this is my garden. I have done it. It is I who have planted all this. Come, let me show you. I have so much bigger garden yet. You have not seen anything. That is much more beautiful. I, with my own hands, have done it. I'll take you round. I have planted all these things. While he was thus taking Indra round and showing, I have done it. I have done with my own hands. I have done it. While he was thus taking Indra round and round, talking many things and boasting himself about the garden, praising himself all the time, he came inadvertently to the place where the dead cow was lying. Startled, as it were, Indra, in the form of the human being, asked, oh my God, in this beautiful garden, who killed the cow here? Suddenly, Brahmana came to the senses, was all the while speaking of everything. I did it, this hand did it, I did it, I am the cause, I am the gardener. So, speaking of everything in the garden, saying, I have done this, I have done that, was now at a loss and did not know what to say. He remained silent. Now Indra then assumed his own form and said, ah, you hypocrite! You hypocrite, you have done whatever is good in this garden, and only the killing of the cow alone that devolves on me. All the other thing in the garden has been done by you and your own hand, but only the killing of the cow is done by Indra. Ah, you hypocrite, you have done whatever is good in the garden. It is the killing of the cow alone that devolves on me. Is that so? Here is your sense of cow killing. Take it. Saying so, Indra disappeared and the sin came and took possession of the Brahmana's body. What a wonderful teaching given by Sri Ramakrishna. I heard from a saint that a person was going on the way. He saw beautiful mango garden. Very beautiful mangoes were growing there. It was ripened, tasty mangoes. Color was so beautiful. Now that person wanted to get that mango. It belonged to somebody. So he wanted to steal it. So who saw the mangoes first? It was the eyes. When the eyes saw it, then the legs started walking towards the tree. Then, with the help of the hands and the legs, he climbed the tree and took the mangoes, beautiful mangoes, and started eating, sitting on the tree itself. So the mouth started eating, and the tongue started tasting and getting the joy. But by the time the owner of the mango trees saw this thief, he took a nice big stick and came and hit the back of the person who was sitting there eating, stealing the mangoes. So the hit or the beating of the stick was so bad on the back, the person started shouting and crying. Now the back question, the back of that person, thief who was eating the mango, questioned, why did I get the beating? It was the leg which went forward. It was the hands which came up. It was the hand which took the mangoes. It was the mouth which ate the mangoes. It was all enjoyed and done. The mistake was committed by all these people. But why should I get the beatings? Yeah, the beating was got by you back, but karma will never give up anybody. Whoever has performed the karma have to undergo that pain. How is it? See, who is crying? Is the eyes. So he started the whole thing. The karma started with that eyes. So the karma has come back to him. The pain was felt by the eyes. That's why he is shedding the tears. It was the eye which started the whole process, gave the impetus to steal. So the hand might have gone, the legs might have gone there. The pain was there was some partiality or if there is some wrong done by the karma. No, karma finds its exact address. Nobody can deceive. Whatever kind of a hypocrite you may be, you cannot deceive the karmas. The karmas will find the right address. So though the beating was on the back, the pain was felt by the eyes. Tears came out finally by the eyes. So the karma will find its address. So now, so much of so much for the power of attorney. Let us now follow the main topic. Ask any devotee of the master, and he will unhesitatingly declare that with the passage of time, he finds through the master's grace deeper and deeper meanings in his words. Further, we are now amazed to find wonderful meanings and sentiments in many of Sri Ramakrishna's words and actions, which at the time of our hearing or seeing them yielded no clear meaning. but were accepted because of the charm of his personality. For example, take the favorite saying of Sri Ramakrishna. Take the favorite saying of Sri Ramakrishna. Ah, my children, you will succeed at the right time. The favorite saying of Sri Ramakrishna is, ah, children, my children, you will succeed at the right time. You will succeed, my children, at the right time. You will understand at the proper time. Can you get a fruit immediately after you sow the seed? Ramakrishna is telling, can you get a free fruit? Can you get a fruit immediately after you sow the seed? First it becomes a sprout, then a sapling, and then a plant. Next it produces flowers, and at last it yields the fruits. It is just like that. But one has to persevere. One has to persevere and not give up the struggle. One has to persevere and not give up the struggle. Listen, listen to what he said in this song of this great devotee. Saying so, Sri Ramakrishna would sing in his melodious voice, O brother, persist joyfully. You will succeed gradually. What went wrong will be set right. O brother, O sister, persist joyfully. You will succeed gradually. What went wrong will all be set right. Anka was saved, Banka was saved, and the butcher Sujana was saved. Teaching the parrot, the prostitute was saved. So was saved Mirabai. Having the wealth and treasure of the world, the trader still drives the bullock. Having the wealth and treasure of the world, the trader still drives the bullock. When misfortune overtakes him, no trace of all these will be left. Have such deep devotion in your mind. Give up hypocrisy and craftiness. Give up hypocrisy and craftiness. The king of the line of Raghus will be attained easily. The king of the line of Raghus, that is Ramachandra, will be attained easily by virtue of service, worship, and surrender. He would then say, Sri Ramakrishna, after singing this song, he used to say, his service, the Lord's service, the Karma Yoga we do, the Lord's worship, puja, havan, everything we do, and surrender. What is surrender? Humility, vinayata, humility. Everything will be achieved if one has faith. Everything will be achieved if one has faith. Just I will give you one example of faith. There was a big havan to start for the sake of rain. So there was no rain in the village for many years. So they asked a great saint to perform the havan or yaga or yagna to bring rain, Parjanya. In Vedas, it's called Parjanya Yaga. So if you do that with the mantras properly done, there will be rain. So that yaga or yagna or that havan is being performed. So all the villagers have gone to see the havan to bring rain. So almost all the whole village has come to that place. But one little girl delayed to come there. She was coming with an umbrella. All started laughing. What is this girl? Headless girl. She is bringing umbrella. It is so dry. For so many years there is no rain. Then the little girl, looking at these people criticizing her, told, you fools, what are you performing this for? Yaga, to bring rain. So you don't have faith that this yaga will bring rain. So if you do this yagna or yaga or the havan to bring rain, will there be no rain? So I bought the umbrella. So only that girl had the faith that So if you have faith, you get the result. We don't have the faith, and how to get the result? So faith is very, very important. So if your belief is put forth in the form of action, it materializes into action. Belief in action is called faith. So faith is very, very important. Sri Ramakrishna is telling you have to believe in God. Faith. Sri Ramakrishna is to tell his service, worship, surrender, humility, everything will be achieved if one has faith. That is very, very important. We don't have faith at all. We don't believe in the Ramakrishna's avatarahood. We don't believe that Sri Ramakrishna is a avatara of Gadadhar Vishnu. And we tell, see, Ramakrishna has not taken all our sins. We are still suffering. So we blame him. He is only a saint. He is an ordinary saint. He is not an avatara. He has not taken my sins. I have done so much sins. He has taken the sins of all others. He has liberated them. Only me he has not given up. He has not helped me. What kind of avatara is? I don't believe. I don't have faith in Ramakrishna. Why? Because, see, I have this pain, I have this disease. He has not taken it away from me. So this is our argument. What beautiful faith. So here, if one has faith and adheres to these things, his direct vision is certain. But if one gives these up, all progress stops. If you have faith, you get everything. If you don't have faith, you lose everything. That's why Lord Krishna is told in Bhagavad Gita, Shraddhavan labate gnanam tatparas sanyatendriyaha Shraddhavan labate gnanam. The person who has faith will get the knowledge, the highest knowledge. Samshayatma vinashyati. This is another statement of Bhagavad Gita by Lord Krishna. Samshayatma, the doubting person, the doubting Thomas, always doubting everything. He doesn't believe anything. Doubt, 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 everything doubt. It starts with the word no. When you tell something, the word yes will not come in his mouth at all. Just watch yourself while you're talking. You will start with the word no. No, 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 no. You start with word. So much of samshaya, so much of negativity. Samshayatma vinashyati. That's why when I'm talking with other people, if they start with no, I tell, start with a positive note. Why do you want to tell no? Why can't you tell yes? Yes, let us see. Yes, I will do. Yes, I believe. So why can't you start with a positive note? Tell yes instead of telling no. Why do you start with no? You should see the conversation. Without no, they cannot begin the word at all. They start the conversation with no. Everywhere it is negativity. So faith is the answer. Samshayatma vinashyati. The doubting person, always doubting in everything and everybody, gets destroyed. These are the words of Lord Krishna. Samshayatma vinashyati in Bhagavad Gita. A person of doubt, always doubting character, doubting Thomas. Doubt, 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 doubt. And they will tell, oh, don't mind it, Swamiji. It's not doubt. It's only we are asking questions. We are clearing our doubts. So, samshayatma vinashyati. So, now here the answer to everything is faith. But if one gives these up, that is faith, all progress stops. But everything will be achieved. These are the words of Sri Ramakrishna. Everything will be achieved if one has faith and adheres to these things. His direct vision is certain. You will have the vision of the Lord if you have faith. But if one gives up the faith, all progress stops. There was a man who had a job. There was a man who had a job, and with considerable difficulty, he saved some money, little by little. One day, counting, he found that there was a saving of 1,000 rupees. He was at once beside himself with joy and thought, Why should I be in service anymore? I've saved 1000 rupees. When Ramakrishna was telling this story 175 years back, 1000 rupees was something like 1 million rupees or something, or even more than that. So that's why that person, while counting the money, he thought, I have so much of saving, 1000 rupees, very valuable during that, because 1 cent or 1 paisa would bring so many kgs of rice. They, with going with 2 paisa, they used to bring whole bag full of rice, vegetables, oil, and so many other things just with 2 paisa. But now the money devaluation has taken place, so you may not get. But during that period, during the time of Sri Ramakrishna telling this story, 1000 rupees was a very huge amount. So there was a man who had a job and with considerable difficulty saved money little by little. One day, counting, he found that there was a saving of 1000 rupees. He was at once beside himself with joy and thought, why should I work anymore? Why should I be in service anymore? There is already a saving of 1000 rupees. What more is necessary? Saying so, he gave up the job. A puny man with puny ambition. Ramakrishna is telling a puny man with puny ambition. He was puffed up. He became egoistic because he has saved 1000 rupees. He was puffed up with ego. He became so egoistic. Puny man with puny mind, puny ambition. He was puffed up on account of this paltry sum. Again, Ramakrishna only tells this beautiful story. There was a frog. That frog had a house. Its house was situated at the center of the road. The frog's house was situated at the center of the road. Then it had a 1 rupee coin. It had 1 rupee, just like 1 cent or one. You can't call it pound. Pound is too valuable. 1 cent in its house. It had kept preserved in its house. The frog. So one elephant, big elephant. You just imagine. Just picturize the whole thing. Big elephant. The small frog is in the house, and that elephant was going walking majestically on the street. So inadvertently it crossed. Thank God it didn't stamp on that house. It crossed that house. It didn't damage anything. It just crossed the house, that's all. If it had by mistake kept one leg on it, the frog and the house, everything would have been chutney. But somehow it crossed, and the frog saw that that elephant has crossed my house. How dare? You elephant, you bad elephant, you have crossed my house. How dare? It was puffed up with ego. Why? It has 1 rupee coin inside the house. So that 1 rupee has made it so egoistic. It is now going, lifting its leg. Just imagine the leg. Frog is lifting its kung fu shot or something like karate shot. So it is lifting its leg and running behind the elephant to kick it, to kick the back of the elephant. This frog is running with one leg up to kick the elephant. Just imagine that, picturize it, because it has become egoistic. Why? Because it has saved 1 rupee in its house. So we get puffed up, we have some wealth, we have some money, and we become so egoistic and we forget everything, lose faith and everything. So this person, Ramakrishna is telling, he had saved 1000 rupees and he told, puny ambition, puny mind, puny man with a puny ambition. He was puffed up on account of the paltry sum and looked down upon others. He started behaving egoistically, ill treating others. Why? I've saved 1000 rupees. So he feels that he's too great and is so egoistic. But how many days will it take to spend 1000 rupees? Ramakrishna is asking, how many days will it take to spend 1000 rupees? He got exhausted in no, it got, the money got exhausted in no time. He then fell on evil days and had to dance attendance on office superintendents for a job. Money, everything is exhausted. Now he has to go in search of a job. So he fell on evil days and had to dance attendance on office superintendents for a job. It will not do to act thus. One has to wait patiently at his doorstep. At the doorstep of the Lord, you should have faith, persevere. You should not give up. So just because if you have got some visions, some Kundalini Jagrata, some visions, you should not stop. Tell I had so totally surrendered and I will stop everything. So you have to persevere. You have to wait at the doorstep of the Lord. We should not be puffed up with little progress. Faith is the answer. So that's why Ramakrishna is using the word. What a wonderful term. A puny man with a puny ambition. A puny man with a puny ambition. So our perseverance, our faith should be big. Should wait. We should wait. Try. Never give up. No giving up. So what a beautiful story Sri Ramakrishna is telling about our spiritual faith. So it will not do to act thus. One has to wait patiently at the doorstep of the Lord. If one is prepared to do that, then alone will one succeed. So if one is prepared to wait at the patiently at the door of the Lord, then alone we will succeed in spiritual life. We should have infinite perseverance. We can understand this better, that perseverance, with the story of Sri Ramakrishna again. What has Sri Ramakrishna told about that perseverance? There were two yogis who were doing intense spiritual activity, intense spiritual tapasya. So Narada Maharshi was going on the path. One of the yogis on whom the ant hill had grown because he had sat there for a long time in tapasya. So the ants, the termites had built the ant hill. So the whole body of the yogi was covered with ant hill. He was inside meditating and doing the japa, thinking of God, intense tapasya. So he saw that Narada Maharshi is going there. Oh, great sage, where are you going? I'm going to Vaikunta. What for? To meet the Lord, Narayana. Can you ask Narayana, when will I get liberation? When will I get his vision? Yes. When I go to Vaikunta, I will ask him. Narada Maharshi moved forward. There was another person, yogi, sitting there and meditating. Only for a few years, maybe. No anthill, nothing. He's just sitting there. So, no intense tapasya is doing, meditating, waiting there. So he too stopped Narada Maharshi and told, oh, great sage, where are you going? I'm going to Vaikunta. What for? To see Lord Narayana. When you see Lord Narayana, will you ask one of my question to him? Yeah. What should I ask? When will I get liberation? Okay. When will I get his vision? Lord Narayana. I will ask and come back and report it to you while going back. Okay. Narada Maharshi went to Vaikunta, asked the question of these both these yogis, came back. This story is also told by Sri Ramakrishna. So while coming back, he met this anthill yogi. The anthill, Valmika, was covered completely. You know that the person, the original writer, author of Ramayana, is Valmiki. His name, earlier name was Ratnakara. It's not Valmiki because he took the mantra diksha from Narada Maharshi and did so much of tapasya sitting at one place for many years that ant hill had covered him. Because of the ant hill had covered his body while doing his tapasya, he gets the name of the ant hill itself after that. So from the term Valmika means ant hill. He gets the name Valmiki. So his earlier name was Ratnakara. He gets the name Valmiki because the Valmika had grown over him. So that was the intense tapasya they used to do. So now this Valmika grown yogi asked Narada Maharshi while coming back, "Did you meet the Lord?" "Yes." "When am I going to get his vision or the liberation?" Narada Maharshi told, the Lord told, "In 3 lives. Just 3 lives you are going to get the vision. 3 lives." Now the yogi sitting there, the whole Valmika, he got very much upset. "I have to wait still 3 more lives. I have done so much of tapasya, so much of austerities." Then he got upset. He broke up all the anthill and went away. "I will not do any more tapasya. Done is done. Gone. Gone case. I am not going to do anymore," and went away. Then Narada Maharshi went to the other yogi, very ordinary yogi. Then he told him, "I had gone to Vaikuntha. I asked you a question. What did the Lord tell? When will I get liberation? When will I get vision of Lord Narayana?" Lord Narayana told that you will get vision. Can you see that tamarind tree there, a little away? Yes. Tamarind tree has very small leaves and a lot of leaves will be there. Millions and millions or billions of leaves will be there. It's told as many number of leaves there on the tamarind, big tamarind tree. After so many lives, you are going to get. So billions and billions and billions of lives. After that, you are going to get. Then that yogi became very happy. It started jumping in joy. Oh, after billions and billions of time, the number of that uh, leaves in the tamarind tree, I am going to get vision of Lord Narayana. I'll be getting after so many lives. I'm so happy. I'm going to get, I'm going to continue. I will wait for him for millions and millions of years. And he started jumping in joy. Then immediately Lord Narayana gave him the vision and gave him liberation. So telling this story, Swami Ramakrishna Paramahamsa tells, the master tells, that we should have perseverance like this. Wait, persevere, continue, never give up. Whatever might be the case, never give up. So that is faith, that is perseverance. So that is the sure way to progress. Then you will have real progress in spiritual life. So we'll end our conversation here because we have already completed our time. So tomorrow, that is Saturday, we have the evening Gita class. Sunday again we have the early morning great master class, Monday or two. So you're welcome to all those classes. Sunday morning we have the children's Hinduism class too. If you have any children who can get the benefit of that, they can join. So now if you have any questions about the discussion today, you can ask. Any questions, any doubts?
Namaste, Maharaj.
Namaste.
This is Shantanu.
Shantanu, please tell.
Maharaj, earlier you told us about karma and whatever like prarabdha, sanchita, agami. So
Yeah.
based on our based on our previous samskaras, like currently we tend to do karmas. So is it possible to like pray to God to help us avoid it or like somehow like divert it? As
Yeah,
in
that
like
prayer,
whatever, yeah.
yeah, that prayer itself is the sadhana by which the Lord will help you. Prayer is also a sadhana. Intense prayer from the heart will
Yes,
remove all those things. That is also a great sadhana. Prayer is a wonderful and the greatest powerful sadhana.
so, like, we can pray to God to guide us, not to do karma, not to do bad karma.
That is the only way. You have to pray to the Lord with that deep devotion and humility. The Lord will answer the prayer, definitely.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes, Shantan. Any questions? Okay, if you don't have any questions, we will complete the discussion, wind up the talk today with a prayer. Om प्रियतां पुण्डरीकाक्षः सर्वयज्ञेश्वरो हरिः तस्मिन् तुष्टे जगत्तुष्टं प्रीणिते प्रीणितं जगत् हरिः ॐ तत्सत् श्रीरामकृष्णार्पणमस्तु।